So let's begin by just arriving in the space that we've created for ourselves. You know, it's so wonderful to do yoga together in the same room and to be able to share that energy. And there's still something so sacred also about being able to be in our own homes, in a space that we create for ourselves, our own sanctuary that we get to create externally that lends to our going into that inner sanctuary. So just allowing ourselves to exhale into the space that we've created, the spaces that we've created. Okay. And if you're like me, you've been running around all day, so this is an opportunity to stop running and to just start being. So coming into the breath, feeling the earth below us as we celebrate Pitru Paksha. We have this beautiful opportunity to honor our ancestors, to receive their wisdom and their love in a more profound way, knowing that they are always with us. And so just beginning to feel into that. Excuse me, it's Pitru Paksha. That's what we're celebrating. I always get that mixed up. So, regardless of what it's called, starting to feel into that space of wisdom, feeling into the earth below us, knowing that ancestors and ancestors of ourselves and the people, the land in which we inhabit, for us, it's the Tongva people, feeling the vibration of their drums and their singing and their voices, feeling the vibrations of the earth herself and the stone people that help to make up the earth, and giving all of this ancestral wisdom permission to be present tonight, to speak up, to meet us in the stillness and the silence, the sanctuary of our own hearts. And so as we connect to this Sangha Sankalpa, this intention, collaborative intention, and also bringing in any Jeev Sankalpas, any individual Sankalpas that we might have, allowing ourselves to really, really anchor into the heartbeat of this intention, of these intentions, to trust our worthiness to receive whatever wisdom or clarity or love or guidance, to know that when we bow to our ancestors, that they receive that they've chosen us to be in their lineage. And so as we anchor into this Sankalpa a little more deeply, we'll call out to the Guru. That Om Namah Shivaya, that Christ consciousness, Vishnu consciousness, that resided in our ancestors, that resides in us. The one who decided to become many and is no less embodied in each of us. So we call to the Guru. We call out to the physical gurus and guides and teachers who have been on our journeys with us. And also we call to the Guru within. That sacred wisdom, the inner medicine woman. Yatamena Jana Atparam Darshitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurudevo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Anvalam Guru Murti Jamalam Guru Ramalam Guru Shamalam Guru Hari Om Namah Chandika Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalani Durga Kshama Shivaratri Swaha Swaha Namostute Rupam Jayante Yashoke no Isho Jahi. Okay, so there's no rush. Whenever you're ready, we'll gently make our way onto our backs if we're not there already. But maybe on the way there, we take a twist or some little movements. So taking a few breaths to just sort of integrate that space of meditation, of intention. The intention with this class, and I think it's just beautiful to revisit that, is not only the intentions that we set at the beginning of the class, but also to give ourselves full permission to be as we are, to honor our bodies and our hearts and our minds, whatever we need. So again, trusting that inner guru to guide us in the asana as well. And so I'll invite you to have a strap nearby, or something that could be used as a strap, scarf or something. And just coming onto our backs and feeling that spinal column, which parts of our spine, our lifeline, literally our lifeline, which parts of the spine are kissing Mother Earth, feeling that connection. Such precious ancestry that we are the children of the Earth Mother. So just letting ourselves exhale into that space, that connection of her, connection with her. And then when and as you're ready, gently just hug those knees in toward the heart space. You don't have to come all the way in. So right now it's more important that we keep this sacrum on the earth. So just sort of maybe rocking side to side as the lower back is supported by the earth. So we don't want to hug in our knees so much that that lower back lifts off the ground. Rocking side to side, maybe taking the knees in circles. So what we're doing is we're just giving our bodies permission to start to move gently. We're coming into the body more, so we're feeling where there's tension and tightness. If we're going in circles, maybe go the other way. But we're also inviting the synovial fluid to move through our joints to start to lubricate them, offering us a little more protection as we invite our joints and muscles and ligaments and all the things to begin to stretch and open and create space. So even these gentle movements are part of that foundation building for the healing that we are creating in this time together. And then taking the strap, looping it around the soles of the feet, just take an inhale, and then exhale, reach those legs up and overhead. So again, it doesn't really matter how, much of a 90-degree angle here you get here between your torso and your legs. Keep the lower back anchored to the ground and letting go of the locking of the knees. So you can even bend the knees if this is feeling like a little bit much. So just breathe into this for a moment. Let the shoulders rest on the ground. If we're struggling to hold this, we've gone too far. So shoulders rest on the ground, lower back rests on the ground. Slight bend in the knees, just so that they're not locked. You can flex the feet if you want. Notice that that will intensify the stretch probably, or you can keep the feet soft. So lots of variations. Take a few breaths to just feel into the options and then choosing what feels best for you. We're going to start to invite space into the hips. So taking an inhale, exhale, right leg comes all the way down to the earth. Now, if this feels like a bit much, then we bend the right knee and just plant that right foot on the ground. From here, both ends of the strap come into the left hand, taking a deep inhale. Exhale, left leg comes all the way over to the left side of the body. So if this is a lot, you might put a blanket or a cushion underneath that left leg. It doesn't have to come all the way to the ground. Just give it something to be supported by, though, if it doesn't. You can also place a slight bend in that left knee if that feels better. So again, we want to get into the left hip, the inner hip and the inner thigh, but we don't want to cause injury. So listening to the body, checking out the different variations, and then when you're ready, take a deep breath and exhale into the form of this pose that is most appropriate tonight. And then breathing. We can begin to invite the breath to travel lower down toward the pelvic floor, if that feels appropriate. Inviting the breath into the hip space, where we are creating space. When we get into the hips, this is where we store a lot of memory and trauma and stories, including ancestral stuff, because this is our root and sacral chakras. So when we come into the Muladhara and Svadhisthana chakras, there's a whole mess of stuff that's stored here, not only from this lifetime, but also from the ancestors who have gone before us. So as we create space in the physical realm, we might notice the emotional realm starts to pop up as well. The epigenetics might become activated. So just notice what you're present to. You can always come out of the pose. Hugging both knees in is an option rather than child's pose, since we're on our backs. It's similar to child's pose, so you might just hug both knees in and rock side to side if anything becomes overwhelming at any time. We'll be here for about another minute longer, and we'll just rest in silence and stillness. Taking a deep inhale. Maybe a breath of Kali, opening the mouth, sticking out the tongue. And then very slowly, when you're ready, we'll just bring that leg back to center, maybe with an inhale. And pause. Just feel that. Has anything shifted? What are we present to in this leg? These legs that we're so fortunate to travel this earth with. Taking an inhale here. Exhale, just sigh it out, let it go. So straps will come into the right hand now. We'll take another inhale. This time, exhale the left leg over to the right side. Go really slow because this might feel a little more intense, especially with the back of the calves and knees. So if your foot doesn't come all the way to the ground, no worries. Just place a bolster or some kind of support underneath your knee or your calf. You might take your left arm out to a T and take a variation of a twist, looking out over that left arm. That might be a little intense, so you might look just neutral or over to the right side instead. So again, sort of playing around with the different head positions and arm positions, and then really honoring whatever it is that your body's asking for. And then once you feel like you're ready to settle in, take that exhale into the pose and arrive. This sacred space. The sacred space of these earthen vessels, these bodies. The sacred space of the pose itself. Notice if different emotions or memories come up on the side. No judgment. How lovely to have this space of presence. To notice what we're physically tuning into, what's emotionally here. This is the stuff we carry all the time anyway. So we're just unpacking. Just about one more minute here. And we'll take an inhale. And maybe an audible exhale, sigh it out, let it go. And when you're ready, no rush, we'll inhale, come back to center. And again, just take a moment to feel that leg. Notice anything that's shifted. Breathing into any lingering tension or tightness. And then if it's comfortable, we'll just bring that right leg up on an inhale to meet the left. And kind of check in. Notice any differences between the two sides. And then we're going to take that whole set to the other side. So big breath in. Exhale, right leg or right foot to the ground. So setting ourselves up. This side might feel much tighter and we might already be aware of that. So again, honoring this side. Balance is not the same thing as symmetry, right? So we want to make sure that we honor whatever this side needs. Strap will come into the left hand. Big breath in. Exhaling, the right hand. Big breath in. Exhale the right leg over to the right side. My little assistant here is distracting me a little bit. So. And breathing here. Maybe the left knee stays bent. Maybe we straighten that leg out. So notice where we're feeling the intensity. So we might be feeling more intensity in the inner right hip, but I know for me, I'm feeling a lot in the external left hip here. So just notice, no judgments, but notice how this side feels. Does it feel different than the other side? Is one side really speaking up to in our practice tonight more than the other side? What are our bodies? What is that guru sharing with us? What do we need to see? What do we need to be aware of as far as showing up for ourselves with compassion and kindness? As we discover this on the mat, then we get to take it off the mat, which is so precious. Coming into the breath, releasing everything to Earth Mother. What is it that we've been carrying that we could release to her with our breath, with our intention, with our presence of mind and presence of body? These precious moments of offering that we can give to Mother Earth, that we can give to our ancestors. All of these are really gifts that we give to ourselves. The God that we seek is no further than our own hearts. We'll just take about 4 or 5 more breaths here. See if we can allow these breaths to be a little, maybe a little deeper, maybe a little more present. Breathing, moving oxygen through our bodies, through our blood, the blood of our ancestors. Take an inhale. Maybe a breath of Kali exhale. And then whenever you're ready, inhaling the right leg back to Father Sky. Moving slowly, taking that pause to feel what's going on on this side, in this leg. And then whenever you're ready, we'll exhale the right leg over to the left side. So strap comes into the left hand. Again, take your time. There's no rush. See if you can move with that exhale though. That's the release. Maybe arm comes out to a T. We take a variation of a twist. And then especially if we're feeling any pretty intense tension or tightness, of course, if there's pain, then we bend that knee a little bit or take the foot further down toward the bottom of the mat. You don't want any pain. But if there's some pretty intense discomfort, breathe into that as much as possible. Notice if there's a clenching in the jaw or any part of us that says, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. Just notice that. Any resistance. With the resistance might be fear. So what is it that's caught up here that we might be afraid to see or experience or feel? We can always come out of the pose. That's always an option. We can also learn how to tolerate discomfort and to trust ourselves to know what to do when we feel overwhelmed, whether it's physically or emotionally. So again, on the mat, this is a time for us to reflect and explore what's going on in our bodies and our emotions so that we can take all of this off the mat with us. So we can live integrated, wholly holistic lives. And again, we'll take just about 4 or 5 more breaths here. Slow and steady. And take an inhale. Audible exhale. And then when you're ready, again, you're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. Inhale, bringing that leg back to center. Notice if there's any more freedom of mobility, the leg feels any more open. It's okay if it doesn't. We're just noticing, we're not judging. And then when you're ready, left leg comes up to meet the right just one more time. Checking in, noticing, keeping that sacrum on the earth. Shoulders are on the earth. So root to the heart chakra, totally rooted to Mama Earth. And then your choice. You can take an inhale and then use the strap to slowly exhale those legs down. Or if you want to come into the core just a little bit, big inhale, exhale, slowly, slowly lowering the legs down without the strap. Completely up to you. And then maybe take a big stretch or hug those knees in.
Take a moment, integrate, and then come just to stillness. What are you present to? Do you feel that tingling sensation that lets you know that there's fresh blood flowing through your legs? Did something that was locked up unlock? It's okay if none of these things are present for you. We're just checking in. What is present for you? Are you more aware of the tension in your legs now? All of it's okay. All of it's welcome here. A few more breaths, just being present to whatever we're present to. And then very, very slowly, we are going to come on to our bellies. And have some props nearby, some blankets or bolsters, pillows, whatever you have that can give you some more support. We're going to come into the heart and shoulders now. So the hips are where we store the past and where we store trauma. And there can be a lot of grief there too. The hearts are where we store a lot of fear about the future, about the present, and obviously we store a lot of grief and sorrow here also. It's said that the soul resides in the heart. The soul is not touched by the Atman, the Jiva, is not touched by this grief. It transcends it. But every part of our humanity, which is also so sacred, is very much affected by the grief and the sorrow. And the grief and the sorrow can create a wall separating our human nature, our human being in experience from the true nature of who we really are, the consciousness that we are, the love that we are. So we don't want to attack the grief and the sorrow. But we do want to give it permission to begin to unravel and release those fetters that keep us bound up. Not because it's the enemy, because even grief serves its purpose. So there's no part of us that's the enemy or that we're out to destroy. We're just integrating, coming into all of our wholeness. So we're going to come into melting heart pose. So come on up to all fours, and knees are going to go wide. Now this can be pretty intense, especially if our shoulders are feeling tight. So this is why you might have a bolster or even a couple nearby. So keeping the hips directly over the knees, we're going to take an inhale and exhale, walk those hands out in front of us so the heart can come down to the bolster or can come all the way down to the earth if you have that space available. And then your forehead can rest on the ground or your chin can rest on the ground. It's going to be different depending on which you choose. So choose the one that serves you. And again, if you go really deep into the pose and then you want to come out and use the bolster instead, explore. And then let yourself breathe into it. Notice though that your heart here, the front of your heart, is anchored to Mama Earth. And breathing into that connection. And imagine that we're pouring out the contents of our hearts, especially any grief, any sorrow, any anxiety or fear, pouring that at the feet of the mother as an offering, because she knows how to transmute and transcend, right? It becomes compost for her. She uses it to nourish our growth. So just imagining that our hearts are these beautiful vessels offering, pouring out their contents at her feet. Such a precious offering. We'll be here for just about another minute and a half or so. And keep breathing. Unclench the hands, unclench the jaw. What are we present to? Can we let it be okay, whatever it is? Take about 4 more breaths here. Really breathing into those shoulders. Of course, you can come out of the pose earlier if that's what's best. Take an inhale. Breath of Kali or audible exhale. Just let all of it go. Take your time, very slowly come all the way onto your belly once again. There's no rush. Just let yourself be held by Mama Earth for a moment. If there are tears, let there be tears. We're going to create a little more space in the shoulders. So arms will come out to a T. And we're going to roll over to the left side first. So take an inhale. Exhale, roll all the way over. So left arm remains extended. We're rolling all the way over to the left arm. And this right foot will come behind the left knee. Maybe the right hand stays on the earth for support. Maybe we inhale the right arm up and then exhale, that right arm comes back behind us. Again, left arm is still stretched out behind us. If this feels a little much, walk that left hand down toward your hips a little bit more. Whew, and breathe. So our shoulders cave in, especially when we're protecting our hearts. That's why computer posture is horrible for so many reasons, but it's not just that we're physically bent over a computer all day. Think about what we're taking in as we're bent over our computers and our phones. Of course, our hearts are going to close them. So noticing, what are we present to as we take our shoulders and begin to open them the other way, kind of opening the cage. And then here are our hearts. What's happening in this space as we begin to open and release and reveal. Again, softening the jaw, noticing the thoughts that come to mind. Just letting it all be okay. We get so focused on trying to do everything the right way that we just forget to be present with what we're doing. So right now, we're just resting in this shape. It might feel intense, it might not feel so restful. But this is our seat, this is our asana right now. We have an opportunity to have this dialogue with our hearts. The mind is going to try to interfere with that by giving us our to-do lists and our, whatever else it does to distract us. It's okay. The mind's job is to think. But our invitation is to invite the mind to come sit on our laps and explore this heart space. So what is the landscape of the heart looking like tonight? Maybe there are some things that need to be tended. Maybe there are some weeds that need to be pulled. No judgment.
Everything has its purpose and its season. Last few breaths, where are we gripping? Where can we stop? If this is a lot on your neck, you can put something underneath your head too to give you a little more support. Take an inhale. Exhale, just let it go. Another big breath in. Maybe an audible exhale this time, let it go. Ha, ha. One more time, take an inhale. This time, breath of Kali. Open the mouth as wide as you can. Stick out that tongue, maybe even open the eyes wide. And then very gently unwrap yourself from this pose and come back to just resting on your belly on Mama Earth, but go really slow because that shoulder might have a lot to say right now. And then notice, what are you present to? What's happening in the shoulders? What's happening in the left shoulder that we just opened? Are there any differences between the left and the right? No judgments, again, we're just checking in. The left side is the feminine side. This has to do with our internal relationship, not gender. All genders have both the sacred feminine and the divine masculine. So the left side has to do with that relationship, the internal relationship that we have with ourselves. In a moment, we're going to go to the right side, which is our external relationship, the masculine, the way we relate to the world and those around us. So as we come into the right side, especially since we're working with the heart space, just notice any differences between the two. So when you're ready, again, arms out to a T. And this time we're going to roll over to the right arm. So big breath in. Exhale, rolling over to the extended right arm. Left foot plants behind that right knee. Left hand stays in front of you for support, or maybe inhaling the left arm up, bending the elbow, and then exhale, tucking that forearm behind your back. Maybe a pillow under your head if this is a lot for your neck. So again, lots of options. Does not have to look like the other side. And just breathe. Be with your experience. You have a lot of wisdom. We all have so much wisdom. In these moments that we can experience and hear that inner guide.
Take an inhale and a gentle exhale. Another inhale together here. Maybe an audible exhale. One last inhale here together. Breath of Kali, open the mouth, stick out the tongue, eyes wide. And then one more time, coming back on your belly to rest with Mama Earth. Slowly unwinding from this pose. And just breathe. Next, we're going to come into our final resting pose. And for this one, I am going to, of course, you can take any version of Shavasana that you want, but I'm going to strongly suggest a heart opening variation. So for that, you can take a couple of blankets and fold them up and put them under your heart and just lay back this way. That's a lot on your neck. Have another one right up here. If you want to go a little, if you want to open up the heart a little bit more, you'll use blocks instead. You can set up your blocks any way that feels appropriate for you. If you have a really bony back like I do, this might not be very comfortable. So the block will be in the middle of your back. You'll just lay back this way. Adjust it so that you feel comfortable. We don't want any pinching or any pain. It's not a competition. It's just whatever we need. Maybe another blanket folded up under your knees. Maybe soles of the feet come together and knees go wide. Gets into the hips a little bit more. So lots of variations. Take arms up overhead if that feels okay. Might be a little much with the support though. And so now we come into Shavasana, the pose of Shiva, the pose of endings, the pose of saying goodbye, the pose of the ancestors. But just like Shiva only destroys for the sake of rebirth, so do our ancestors only pass on for the sake of rebirth. Theirs and ours. Every bit of wisdom they gave us when they were alive, all the way back to the ones that we never got to meet in this lifetime. Our ancestors never leave us, ever. We literally have their blood flowing in our veins. So now as we come into this space of Shavasana, it's an invitation to let go and be like that sleeping newborn baby, totally trusting in the arms in which it rests. And so for these next few moments, we get to be that precious infant resting in the arms of our ancestors, in the lap of the Earth Mother. And for just these few moments, our only job is to rest in that love. Everything else gets to just fade into the background.
There's no rush. When you're ready, start to come back to this present moment. Even though we're coming out of the pose of Shiva, we're still held and supported by Shiva and all that he represents, including our ancestors, including our loved ones of every lineage, spiritual, physical. So as we start to take those little micro movements, as we symbolically take rebirth, holding that connection to all of those who have gone before. Maybe taking a big stretch, really creating that space, breathing that in. Perhaps rolling into fetal position on the left side. Again, that fetal shape, really getting into that space of rebirth now. And so what do we want this rebirth to look like? How do we want to take our practice off the mat? And by that I mean, how do we want to live this unity with self? This symbiosis with Mother Earth and Father Sky and all of those who have gone before. How do we want to honor our inner guru and all of those who paved the way for us? And holding firmly to our lineage, yet still allowing ourselves to be uniquely and divinely who we are. So when and as you're ready, gently help yourself up into a seat. And as we take this seat, still feeling that connection to Mother Earth. Maybe hands come in Gyan Mudra, where the index fingers and the thumbs touch. Fingers are nice and straight, firm. Or Shanti Mudra, where you just soften those fingers. Or Pad Mudra, where we bring our hands in the shape of a lotus at the heart, which is the mudra for heart opening. So thumbs come together, base of the palms come together, and then pinkies come together, fingers spread wide. This beautiful open lotus at the Anahata chakra. And thinking about how a lotus rises through all this stuff, yes, but it must be rooted in something for it to bloom. We always think about the lotus and how it rises through the mud, and we know we do this, right? Life is muddy. But the lotus still has to be rooted in something for it to bloom. Redwoods can withstand fire because they're so deeply rooted into the earth and because they have this beautiful protection. They have this symbiotic relationship with the earth and everything that grows in the earth. They can actually withstand
fire. But not if they don't have those roots drawing up the nutrition, the nourishment, the sustenance that they need. So as we take this mudra, if that's what we're doing, at the heart, what are we rooted in? How are we tilling our soil and what's in the soil? Is it rich and vibrant with truth, connection to the ancestors, knowing our stories, knowing our songs? Is it dry and dusty and in need of something? Not to be discarded, it just needs some replenishment. That's where the compost comes in. Nothing in our lives is to be just discarded. It becomes compost to nourish those roots. All of our pain, all of our suffering, all of our trauma, compost, if we'll allow it to be. So breathe. What are we rooted in? And what is the fruit that we want to bring forth? How do we want to live our lives in a way that honors our ancestors and honors ourselves, honors the divinity that we are, and aligns with yoga, that connection to self, to source, to love? My bloom will not look like your bloom. They're so uniquely beautiful and fragrant. Fragrance is all their own. Different colored petals, different things needed to thrive, fruits that serve different purposes and different tastes. So just for tonight, not getting caught up in stories or shoulds. What are we choosing to be rooted in? And what are we choosing to bring forth? And then just allowing ourselves to say yes to that. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's not a magical formula. But we're giving ourselves permission to be. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jaya Jagarambe Mata Ki. Jai Gurudev.